Mr. Hammond?
Ricky has his hand up if it matters.
It looks like Joe is muted.
Bill, and you?
Is Triple, Mr. Triple? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. Times with,
Could
but
you
thanks,
please
Steve, for trying to pinch hit, but I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
For
You're
all.
welcome.
Read under first readings, bill number.
Resolution of the St. Joseph County Council declaring a portion of St. Joseph County an economic revitalization area pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-12.1-1. Petitioner Unifrax LLC.
Bill number 3921 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Bill 4021, an ordinance to vacate a public way or public place located wholly within the unincorporated portion of St. Joseph County, public way or public place located at that 243-foot section of Bristol Street by the southern right-of-way line of Edison Road to the north, Lot 55 of Elm Grove addition to the west, and Lot 55 Elm Grove addition to the east, Portage Township, St. Joseph County, Section 6, Township 37 North, Range 2E, petitioner Michael W. Denman, 24890 Edison Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46628.
Bill number 4021 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
4121, an ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council amending Title 15, Chapter 154 of the Land Usage of St. Joseph County Code to revise setback and off-street parking regulations in the University District. Petitioner, St. Joseph County Area Plan Commission.
Bill number 4121 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Bill 4221, an ordinance amending and supplementing Title 15 Land Usage Chapter 154 Planning and Zoning of the St. Joseph County Code is amended for unaddressed property of 23 acres, more or less, located at the southeast quadrant of Spruce Road and Early Road, and unaddressed property of 60 acres, more or less, located at the southeast quadrant of Edison Road and Elderberry Road, together totaling 83.42 acres, more or less, from A, Agricultural District to I, Industrial District, for petitioner, Ward Living Trust, with Thelma J. Truex and Laurel L. Kublik as trustees, and Life Estate for Laurel L. Kublik.
Bill number 4221 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Bill 4321, an ordinance amending and supplementing Title 15 Land Uses, Chapter 154 Planning and Zoning of the St. Joseph County Code is amended for property located at 54506 Buckeye Road and 54620 Buckeye Road, from A, Agricultural District to R, Single Family District. Petitioner Joseph and Christy Leninger.
Bill number 4321 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. That concludes first readings for this evening. Next on the agenda is resolution, bill number 3821. Clerk, will you please read the bill?
3821, a resolution establishing a cumulative capital development fund.
Petitioner?
Mr. President and Council, I'll speak as petitioner. You have requested that the cumulative capital development fund be reset to its full rate of 3 1/3 cents per hundred. It had only reduced to 0.0332, but the goal is to keep it at its specific rate of 3 1/3 cents per hundred on an annual basis. Therefore, this is a annual or biannual process. This resolution would reset that rate for 2022 to its full rate. I recommend approval.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Tanzrat?
Mr. Dalton?
Tanzrat?
Mr.
Yes.
Dalton? Could you explain to the public what somebody with an average valued home might experience with that change? From what
Um,
what it will be currently to what we're proposing tonight?
I'm going to do that on my calculator right now so that I have a number for you. I'm going to say $100,000 home. Is that a good home for you?
It's probably a good average size or average valued home in our county, I believe.
And I'll say $2.
10 cents.
Oh,
They'll see a change in their assessment or the change in their cost with the Hume Capital Development Fund of 10 cents.
It would be 10 cents if they were not at the tax cap. Most
Okay.
everybody in St. Joseph County is already at the tax cap, and therefore they would see no increase.
Okay, so a 10-cent difference. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 3821. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing on bill 3821 is now closed. May I have a motion?
move for approval.
Second,
A motion to pass bill number 3821 was made by Councilman Nolan, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
Thank you. And it was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further comments from any council member in regard to bill 3821? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzarite,
Yes.
Panarecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
No.
and Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you. Let the record state that bill number 3821 was passed by a vote of 8-1. Next on the agenda are salary amendments. Clerk, will you please read bill number 2221?
An ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, prosecutor.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner? Is there anyone on the call from the prosecutor's office?
Mr. Morton, I make a motion that we send 2221 back to committee.
Do I hear a second on that motion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill number 22-21 goes back to committee. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 3621?
An ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, prosecutor.
Mr.
Going
Morton,
once.
Mr. Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner? Again, is there anyone from the prosecutor's office on the call?
President Morton, I make a motion to send this back to committee.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Bill number 3621 goes back to committee.
Okay, Bill 3321, an ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, Health Department.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Nobody? Reinhardt is on.
Dr. Einherz?
There he is.
Yeah, Amy Rupie is on the phone as well, so I'm not sure why she's not being heard. And so I wonder if there might be a glitch here, but this is Bob Einherz, excuse me. Bob Einherz, Health Officer, County City Building, 8th floor. And what we are asking for is the temporary full-time employees to run the, help us run the vaccination clinic out for you.
Bill number 3321. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition on Bill 33?
Motion for passage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the first motion?
Mark?
Mark, okay, thank you. Motion to pass Bill number 3321 was made by Councilman Catanzarite, and the second was made by like 3 people.
Take your pick.
Yeah,
Seconded by Councilwoman Hess. How about that?
There you go.
sounds
Okay.
good.
Any other comments from council on 3321?
Mr. Morton?
Mr. Catanzarite?
I first learned of this from Bobby Krasinski, but there have been others, lay people and people from the public, but I've not heard one complaint from anybody about the operation of St. Hedwig and what the health department's doing over there. People I know are just going there to volunteer because they like helping out. And my hat's off to the health department employees, Dr. Einherz and his staff. I've heard nothing but praise for the work they're doing there and the quantity of work and the quality of the work they're doing. And it's an exemplary service, I think, that others probably are looking to how to get vaccinations done in a timely manner and to the public. But my hat's off to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would
From
make
any
this, I would make the same comments. I think the experience over there has been excellent. And also I think that we've been ahead of many counties in how we do this.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from any council person? Hearing none. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes,
Mr. Kloin,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 3321 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 3721?
An ordinance amending ordinance 7620, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2021. Petitioner, PSAP.
Mr. Krasinski, committee report, please, sir.
President Morton, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. It's Ray Schultz, Executive Director of PSAP, Office at 58266 Downey Avenue. Requesting to move some budgetary money to create the position of training officer. I have provided you all with resolution from the operations from the executive board. This is a budget neutral move for 2021. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill 3721. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed on Bill 3721. Do I hear a motion?
Motion for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 3721 was made by Councilman Krasinski. It was seconded by Councilman Kanaricki. Any further comments on this bill from any council member? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaricki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan. Yes. Mr. Morton,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 3721 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next, we have a public
Thank you,
hearing.
everybody.
Next, we have public hearing and public comment on fiscal matters. All financial issues were heard and discussed at our March 23rd, 2021 committee meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Clerk, will you please read Bill 3521?
30, excuse me. An ordinance appropriating and transferring monies for the purpose herein specified for the several departments herein listed of the St. Joseph County government.
May I have a motion on Bill 3521?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 3521 was made by Councilwoman Hess and was seconded by Councilman Kanaricki. Any comments from any council member on 3521? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaricki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan. Yes. Mr. File,
Aye.
Mr. Morton,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 3521 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Next, we have land use planning. Clerk, will you please read bill number 2521?
An ordinance to vacate a public way or public place located wholly within the unincorporated portion of St. Joseph County, public way or public place located at the first north-south alley west of Brink Avenue, bound by Elsie Avenue to the north, Pietro Street to the south, lots 195 to 208 of Lexington Park to the west, and lots 125 to 138 of Lexington Park to the east, Penn Township, St. Joseph County, Section 4, T37N, R4E, petitioner Brian Ramp, 365 North Halsted, Unit 2310, Chicago, Illinois, 60661.
Mr. Nolan, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, Bill number 25-21 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. This is Sean Klein with Area Plan Commission staff with offices on the 11th floor of the County City Building. Staff recommends approval of this petition to vacate an unimproved alley in Penn Township. We find that it meets all of the criteria found in state law on which to base approval. The county has no intention of improving this right of way, and we've already vacated similar alleys within Lexington Park that would never be improved. It doesn't provide access to any of the abutting property currently. These properties abut on improved streets, and all of these abutting properties have been informed of this public hearing, and they'll have the opportunity to speak tonight and make their case if they feel that they'll be anyway aggrieved by this petition. Does not provide access to a church, school, or other public building or place, and it would not make use of a public way by this neighborhood any more difficult. So therefore, we recommend approval of the vacation. The petitioner is also on the line if you have any further questions for him.
Thank you. Any questions for area plan from council? Petitioner? Would you like to add anything?
I have nothing to add. Thank you for hearing it today.
Thank you. Any questions from council for area plan? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on Bill 2521. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Motion for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass Bill number 2521 was made by Councilman Krasinski. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Toloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 2521 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 2821?
An ordinance amending and supplementing Title 15 Land Uses, Chapter 154, Planning and Zoning of the St. Joseph County Code as amended for property located at 54565 Sage Road from C Commercial District to A Agricultural District. Petitioner Area Plan Commission.
Mr. Nolan, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, Bill number 28-21 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Hello, this is Abby Wiles. I am with Area Plan Commission. I'm the director, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor of the County City Building. This petition is located on Sage Road out in Olive Township. It is south of US 20, north of Edison Road on the west side of the street. It's currently split zoned with the northern half approximately zoned C commercial and the southern half zoned A agricultural. It was rezoned in 2001, subject to written commitments that required that the rezoning revert back to agricultural in 2015. Area Plan Commission staff recently became aware of the commitments and or less making the terms of cultural to Area Plan Commission. It came out of a verbal recommendation, which more or less meant to let the existing commercial zoning remain in place, subject to new written commitment, allow the zoning to continue through May 3rd, 2030, or under other number of other conditions. The commitments were approved by the Area Plan Commission, signed off by the Area Plan Commission president and the property owner, and forwarded to council's council last week, and I believe that you all received copies. So the recommendation coming out of committee is, it's a little confusing, but with an unfavorable recommendation to allow the zoning to continue in place, or to allow the C commercial zoning to continue through May 3rd, 2030, or under one of the other conditions that would require it to revert back, which is the owner's voluntary retirement, any sale or transfer of the property, or the death of the owner. And as part of the new commitments, the owner agrees to notify the Area Plan Commission if any of these were to occur. I believe that a representative of the property owner is on to confirm that they're in agreement with the new commitments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, we will now open the public hearing on Bill 2821. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak? I'm sorry?
Good evening. My name is Bill Jonas. I am counsel for the property owner. We would ask the council to approve the written commitments, and I'm here to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to pass, Mr. Morton, so long as we amend or accept the written commitments as proposed to be a part of the ordinance.
Second.
A motion to pass bill number 2821 was made by Councilman Catanzarite. It was seconded by Councilman Krasinski.
So I apologize. This is Abby Wiles speaking again. Just because of the nature of the approval, the original petition was to rezone from C to agricultural, but the council, it's my understanding, wishes to keep the existing commercial zoning in place subject to new commitments.
I think Abby said it better than I did.
I apologize. I know these can get confusing after the fact and want to make sure that that's the intent of the council.
That was my intent, to leave the rezoning commercial subject to the written commitments that were presented to us by the petitioner and his counsel.
So there was a motion on the floor subject to the written commitments made by Mr. Catanzarite and seconded by Mr. Krasinski. Any further comments from council? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Mr. Catanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kanareki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski? Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. File?
Aye.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Tloyan?
Yes.
Mr. Morton?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 2821 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read bill number 3121?
An ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds for the purpose of refunding the county economic development income tax revenue bonds of 2014 and incidental expenses in connection therewith and on account of the bonds and addressing other matters connected therewith. Petitioner Phil Facenda.
Ms. Hess, committee report, please, sir. Ma'am, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. President, Bill number 3121 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Yes, members of the council, Phil Facenda, 201 South Main Street, South Bend. As was discussed in the committee meetings, the ordinance before you is a refunding of the county's outstanding CEDAT bonds that were originally issued in the principal amount of $9,155,000. The principal amount with the retirement of the debt, the principal amount that is sought in the bonds is an amount not to exceed for the bonds is an amount not to exceed $6,900,000. These bonds are anticipated to be taxable bonds because the call date for the bonds does not take place until the end of 2022. So they can't be advance refunded under current law prior to 90 days out from that date. As taxable bonds, even given the fact that they're taxable bonds with market conditions, just 6 weeks ago or so, there was projected savings of 3 to 4% net present value, which would have, on the high end, would have been somewhere around $300,000 and $280,000 to $300,000 in net present value savings to the county on the debt service for these bonds. At this point, market conditions are not as favorable as they were. And so the council is being asked to adopt this bond ordinance, allowing the commissioners to move forward with a refinancing if market conditions should put themselves back in a favorable place for the county. Also, Steve Dalton can address any other questions as the municipal advisor on this transaction that I may not be able to answer.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill 3121. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill 3121. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 3121 was made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further comments from any council member on 3121? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 3121 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, Bill number 3221?
3221, an ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council appropriating the proceeds of the St. Joseph County local income tax revenue refunding bonds. Petitioner Phil Pasenda.
Ms. Hess, committee report, please.
Mr. President, Bill number 3221 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Yes, Mr. President and members of the council, this is simply the appropriation bill that goes along with the bond ordinance. We are seeking to appropriate the proceeds of the bonds, which would not have been included in your regular budget.
Thank you. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on Bill number 3221. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on Bill 3221. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to pass Bill number 3221 was made by Councilwoman Hess, and it was seconded by Councilman Krasinski. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Toloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kanareki,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that Bill number 3221 was passed by a vote of 9-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill? Bill number 2621.
An ordinance of the St. Joseph County Council amending Chapter 97 Fair Housing, St. Joseph County Code. Petitioner Diana Hess.
Mr. Kaczynski, committee report, please.
President Morton, Bill 2621 comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Petitioner?
Yes, this is just to update our code for purposes of receiving federal funds.
Thank you. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on bill number 2621. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on bill 2621. Do I hear a motion?
Motion for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass bill number 2621 was made by Councilman Krasinski. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further comments from any council member on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. File,
Aye.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kenricky,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
No.
and Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 2621 was passed by a vote of 8-1. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 2721?
2721, an ordinance of the St. Johns County Council, 2021 salary ordinance for employees for community corrections, Ducombe Center of the county, providing a COVID-19 hazard pay stipend to qualifying county employees. Petitioner Ducombe Center.
Mr. Kaczynski, committee report, please.
President Morton, Bill 2721 comes to the council without a recommendation.
Thank you. Petitioner?
Thank you so much. I would ask the council if they would please consider my request for hazard pay. I had, as of our last conversation, 14 out of 42 employees who have contracted COVID. We're a 24/7 facility without a quarantine holding cell. And as of today, I have 3 additional staff out, 2 positive for COVID and 1 in quarantine. So those numbers are continuing to go up, and we are working tirelessly for the criminal justice system to maintain the integrity of the facility and monitoring the clients. And it would be a great support for us. I did come to council during my grant presentation and asked for hazard pay. And at that time it was recommended for me to seek additional funding through the Department of Correction, as that's where my funding is from. However, after the council deadline, got word from the DLC that they did not approve hazard pay for community corrections in 2021. So I am coming to ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on bill number 2721. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on 2721. Do I hear a motion?
Move for passage.
Do I hear a second?
I would like to make a comment.
Mr. File?
It was my understanding that in view of the fact that we have thousands of people unemployed with desperate circumstances, that in 2021, we weren't going to put an extra burden on our people having to do with extra pay from people who already have full pay and full benefits. One exception was made on the basis of poll workers, on the basis that this wasn't a department of our government. And so I went with that idea. I had understood that hazard pay was to be an event that was going to happen in 2020, and that it was not to be extended into the new year. I would also like to remind you that as soon as we start to put hazard pay in the hands of a department of our government in 2021, the line will form for every other department that would like hazard pay to also ask us for hazard pay. So on the basis of policy that I understood was agreed to by our council, that is that we wouldn't take hazard pay on into the 2021 budget, I move that we disallow this item.
Well, Mr. File, there's already a motion on the floor for approval, and I need to ask, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second to pass bill number 2721. Any other comments from any council member?
My only question back to the council is, if you go ahead with this, how many other departments are you going to entertain for hazard pay this year?
Mr. President.
Mr. Canada-Ricky?
Thank you. To Dick's point, which is a good one, certainly this request comes long after the initial deadline that we put on the department heads to seek this for their employees. I am personally in favor of this only because the reason this request is so late is because she did what was asked, which was to seek this out to the Indiana State Department of Corrections. Having not been awarded that, I don't think that diminishes the hazard that her staff encountered and continues to encounter, from her report just now. So the way that I had viewed this, Dick, and maybe you consider it this way too, had the Dukem Center employees been part of the initial request, would we have voted in favor of providing them the hazard pay or not? Personally, I felt that we would. And the only reason why this is late is bureaucracy. So I still feel that they are deserving of this pay. They absolutely met the requirements that we all discussed at that point. So I think this is an exception. I don't think that this is the departments coming to seek. They wouldn't have had bureaucracy. So that's my position on it.
My comeback on that is we worked with Nolan and others to come up with a total. We had to weigh many factors in coming up with that total. And so the fact is that we paid out what that total was recommended to us by those that worked on it. And to me, the party's over and it's too late to start a new party this year.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from any council member on 2721?
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in, Mr. President. This is Mr. Nolan.
Mr. Nolan?
To Mr. File's point, I've been a fairly stringent advocate for cutting it off, as he said we would. But I would also like to say, I think Mr. Canada-Ricky's point, and I spoke to him earlier about this, that it is true that this request was made prior to the deadline that we put in place. And it is not Dukem Center's fault or St. Joe County's fault that it didn't get answered until recently, and this wasn't able to be a thing. So I believe I'm going to advocate for approving this, but here's the caveat. I am not aware, going to ask any other council person if anybody's aware of any other entities, departments, or anything like that that did submit a request in time that for whatever reason didn't make it to our plate. Leading up to, I don't think that there's an opportunity for this to happen next month and every month for the next 6 months with a different department, because I don't think anybody else will meet those requirements. This is the only one that I'm aware of that made the request within the time allotted, but the decision wasn't made prior to today. Is anybody aware of any others?
Thank you. Any other comments from any council member on Bill 2721? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. File?
No.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan,
Yes.
Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 2721 was passed by a vote of 8-1.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we will address the renewal or change or rescission to ordinance 8520. May I have a motion on the bill?
Move for approval or move to carry it forward to May 27th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to pass bill number 8520 or continue it to May 27th is made by Councilwoman Hess. It was seconded by Councilman Catanzarite. Any further comments on 8520?
Mr. File, I'd like to make a comment or two. One item which I passed back to the council today was that the health department understands that under no circumstances will this be extended past that date, okay, which is May 27th. Likewise, I would, as a councilman, and perhaps maybe others, would like to also emphasize that same point. I will in no way support an additional add to this date, to the date stated. And I'd also like to comment that we have 5 weeks and 5 days to that date. And if I thought, and this is a matter of each person's sincere beliefs, okay? I'm not trying to say other people's beliefs need to be like my belief. But in my belief, in my sincere belief, I believe that holding this for another 5 weeks and 5 days might save at least one life. And if it were to save at least one life, I'm willing to do the inconvenience of a mask for that period of time. So we have we're very close to the finish line. We have a very short period to get to the finish line, and we are not going to extend this past the finish line. Under those circumstances, I think it is something we need to do.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from any council member on 8520?
President Morton?
Yes.
Okay, back to what Dick was saying. Again, the reason I believe that Dr. Einters chose the date of May 27th is because that is a time when all citizens of St. Joseph County 16 years and over would be, who are eligible or have the opportunity to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated by then. And that was the reason to allow the rest of the people to be fully vaccinated, those who choose to do so.
Thank you. Any other comments from any council member? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. File.
Aye.
Oh. Did someone want to comment? I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that Ms. Hess's motion, she mentioned the date, May 27th. We probably need to add in there the year too. Would you agree, Ms. Hess?
Sure. 2021.
I second that.
Right, Mark.
Want to make sure we're clear on that.
Thank you very much.
Good point. So Mr. Fowle is a yes. Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan.
No.
Okay. Mr. Catanzarite,
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
No.
Mr. Krasinski,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-2.
Let the record show that bill number 8520 was passed by a vote of 7-2. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Next on the agenda is new business. Next is comments from the public on anything that is not on tonight's agenda.
Hi, this is Amy Drake from Granger. I just want to talk today. I wanted to talk today about the authoritarianism of the experts. We've gotten very used to unelected officials telling us what to do, especially this year. The government trots out authorities who tell us that they are right, even though they are clearly wrong, and we all know it. They give us really bad advice, like lockdowns work, when we see that lockdowns have done nothing to stop the spread of COVID. The virus is usually picked up in households, but just yesterday we heard the head of the CDC once again advising Michigan to lock down. Not only are lockdowns ineffective, they kill our economies, destroy our social lives, empty our churches, obliterate our schools, and wreck our physical and mental health. No wonder we have legislation right now at the state level to rein in our health authorities. They force us, free Americans, into mandates with no proof that they work. We've seen it close up and personal in St. Joe County. Dr. Einters, our local health officer, who is unelected, has pushed his own freedom-crushing agenda on the 272,000 people of our county. COVID kills sick, old people. Barely any deaths have occurred under 50, about 10 in our entire county. But Dr. Einters didn't use common sense or science to come up with a virus game plan that should have done everything possible to maximize our freedom and minimize unintended fallout. Instead, he restricted all of us from the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that is at the very core of American life. He never tried to measure herd immunity in the county, even though that was the original carrot he held out for ending restrictions. Right now, estimates say 57% of people have had the virus and now have natural immunity, and 22% have been fully vaccinated. Those are massive numbers. But apparently, until we get down to 0 deaths, we will not be safe enough. There will always be another variant to keep them in business. Our health authorities are almost always wrong, but they think that we are too dim-witted to make our own health decisions. Even though we live in America, we are being told we must measure our own risk and personal beliefs is unilaterally. The staying power comes from the tremendous unwarranted fear that they've instilled into our entire population, even with the majority. Health authorities are even elected officials. In the future, I hope that then not just the opinion of one tyrant, even elected officials have no power to fire. Thank you for letting us have the floor tonight, Raphael.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, Mike Hammond here. Can I comment?
Yes.
I appreciate people who have a different opinion as to whether the masks work or whether we should have lockdowns or, we can have disagreements on procedures. But I really deeply resent the way that Mr. Einters, Dr. Einters, has been categorized as some sort of tyrant. I've gotten to know him quite well. I know that you can disagree with him, but he makes decisions based on what he thinks is in the best interest of St. Joe County. He follows the Hippocratic Oath, and I just find it really disturbing and upsetting when people kind of impugn his character like that. So I want to stand up for him and thank him for all he's done. We may not always agree on things, but I think that he has done everything that he felt he could do. He followed his conscience. And I'm sorry if that didn't follow life, liberty, and pursuit of frickin' happiness for some people, but he did what he thought was best. You disagree or not. So thank you, Dr. Einters, for your leadership on this, even if some people might disagree with it. I do appreciate it. As a person who had COVID twice and damn near died the second time, I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. May I remind everyone on this call that public comment is for anything not on tonight's agenda. And the Bill 8520 was definitely, obviously, about COVID. So I'm going to ask one more time, does anyone have any other comments on anything not on tonight's agenda? Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mooney, Kelly Havens wants to.
Pardon?
I think Kelly Havens.
Ms. Havens?
Yeah. I don't know how anyone can talk about much of anything that's going on in the county right now without recognizing the impact of COVID. I just lost $500 in income last week because 2/3 of my students in an unprecedented action, took off for spring break. They've never done that en masse like that before. And that tells me that people are desperate to get out and move about and see people and be human beings again. And I think we have to remember that whole side of being citizens in St. Joe County, that means something too. There's always going to be flu viruses. There have been coronaviruses for decades, and there will be more coronaviruses. Every year they kill something like 150,000 people in the US. And this year it killed more. I think the numbers got kind of inflated because, if anyone happened to have COVID and died of anything else, it got written up as COVID because then the hospital got more money. But that means we should have done like double what we usually do. What do we usually do? Nothing. We don't shut down anything. Maybe a school shuts down for one day because so many kids were out with the flu that the teachers didn't see the point in having school that day. But we don't change what people wear or what businesses they can go to or what businesses can even stay open. We've never done any of that. And all of a sudden this year, we did it all hugely. And I think we went from 0 to 100 without thinking about what it would do to everybody. I'm just hoping that if you have an opportunity to back things off and give us back normal life, you ought to take that opportunity. So if like someone hands you a veto, you could maybe like not override it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on anything not on tonight's agenda?
I would like to address the council if I could.
Go ahead.
Thank you, members of the council, fellow citizens. I do have some comments about COVID in general, but I will not.
Name and address for the record.
Michael Dunn. I live at 16506 Granger, Indiana. So I'll try to keep my comments more general, as I know you're trying to avoid the specific topic of the mask ordinance this evening.
No, we're not trying to avoid it, sir. This is our protocol when we have public comment at the end of the meeting. We're not trying to avoid anything.
Sure, I didn't mean that in a pejorative fashion. I apologize if it came across that way. So just over a week ago, the RAND Corporation published the results of a survey that they have been conducting from May to October, measuring public trust in various institutions. And one of those was the CDC. I'll share the link to this in the comments when I'm done speaking. What they found is that the CDC has lost an average of about 10% of trust amongst the public, with some demographics losing significantly more. So the end result is that the CDC has an average rating of only about a 7 out of 10 on the cumulative trust. I'd like to suggest to the council that one of the primary causes of this steep decline in the CDC's trust is that the public has come to see them as trying to control rather than educate citizens. As we all have seen, public officials across the country have relied on coercion and threats to compel citizens to act in accordance with their dictates, rather than providing them with the most current and honest information so that they can make their own decisions about what's best for themselves and their families. As a recent string of court rulings have shown, our rights are not suspended in a pandemic. We all have to remember, our local government officials, both elected and administrative, that government exists to protect our rights and protect the people they serve, and not to impinge on them in a paternalistic attempt to protect them from themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Lisa Takanovich, I would like to say something.
Go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am.
Muting. Oh, hello? Okay. My name's Lisa Tykonovich. I'm in Mishawaka. And I'm a nurse. I'm an RN, BSN. I'm doing family caregiving now. I'm retired. I don't know if I could be in a hospital setting or whatever right now, wearing a mask all day, every day, which I feel is very detrimental. I just want to make a statement. The pharmaceutical industry owns and controls the medical profession. What I want to know is why aren't more doctors and nurses looking into this experimental vaccine? And why aren't we asking more questions about the real detriment of wearing masks all day long and how it decreases the immune system? Why aren't we asking more questions? What really happens to the body all day after you're forced to wear a mask all day long, or who is being coerced into getting this experimental vaccine? And the doctors that are asking the question, the nurses that are asking the questions are being censored. And there are treatments for the COVID that are being censored also that could prevent being hospitalized or anything like that. That's being censored because we are politically being controlled, and that's true. And our voices are being censored, and we're not being heard for that. So what I think anybody should ask and everybody should know is ask for the vaccine inserts when you go to get this vaccine. Look and see what's in the vaccine and what the possible side effects are. There are people dying from this, and also severe, that is being set game again, get vaccine injured, one of your kids that are sick, have robust immune systems that they're trying to play with, then come back to, see about that. And did you know that in 1918, the Spanish, and there's books about that. And COVID-19, another chapter in the history of deception and secrecy. That's what's exactly going on here. And I think more doctors and nurses should be asking questions about what we're trying to do to humanity. And we're supposed to be helping prevent illness and promote health. And so the ones that are advocating for this, possibly they should think about what they're doing, because they're going to be held accountable someday, whether in heaven or hell. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Paul Harold from Garland Circle, South Bend. Can I have a quick comment?
Yes, as long as it's not in regards to anything on tonight's agenda, which 8520 is the mask ordinance. So
Good luck
please.
on that.
Yeah, sure. I'd just like to say this, and I understand the mask ordinance has been extended, and on May 27th, there's going to be a question whether to extend it again or not. And what I just would encourage the council to think about before voting to extend it again on May 27th is children. I think we've been with this virus has been with us over a year, so we have very good statistics from which we can draw from, and we can see that there is really absolutely no risk to children from this virus. But what I guess I'm concerned about as a father of 7, who have many other children who are my kids' friends, is what I see is very disturbing. I see the kids seeing other children not as friends, not as other human beings who can love them, but only simply as carriers of a virus. They see others as disease carriers. And I see this as something that's very, very, very bad. Do we want our next generation growing up seeing other human beings only as those who threaten them, as potential people who can infect them and kill them? Or do we want them to see them as people to be loved, as comrades, as friends, as fellow citizens? So I really encourage the members of the council, before May 27th, please take into account the children of our community who are going to be leading this community through the next generation. What is their experience? What will their experience be like? How can we shape their experience? How can we help them grow into healthy, loving adults? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Deborah Hancock. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'd like to make a quick comment. Deborah Hancock, Farmington Square, South Bend. I just wanted to share something that I found really encouraging. I often get on indiana.gov and go to the COVID dashboard. I know at the beginning of all of this, the whole talk was about the danger of hospitals being overwhelmed, which is what started all of the different restrictions we have. But we are at a point now, we are absolutely in no danger of our hospitals being overwhelmed. Only 8.1% of ICU beds across the state are in use right now for COVID patients. And there are 79.9% of ventilators available across our state. So again, our hospitals are simply not in danger of being overwhelmed. In our state as well, 77% of deaths have been in people over the age of 70. And as we know, most of those had several comorbidities as well. But again, the fear mongering we hear so often in mainstream media about even younger people being in danger, the numbers just simply do not back that up. And I just feel there should be a limit to the government's involvement in our health decisions and restrictions in general. If you just look at our actual data, there just really does not seem to justify the restrictions that we still have. And I would love to see our health department focus on educating people on truly helpful health measures, just simple things such as vitamin D intake, exercise, healthy food, being outdoors, etc. I feel like our county would be much better served by them focusing on that rather than fear mongering. But I appreciate you letting me speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ellen Rylander of South Bend. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Friendly reminder, you have 3 minutes to speak, and please, keep your comments on anything that's not on tonight's agenda.
Okay. My comments, hello? Yes, my comments are actually a little bit more about procedure. In part because of the subject matter of tonight's agenda, I was trying to look through today as to answer questions about why, for example, there wasn't any public comment on the issue that we're not supposed to talk about. And I wanted to share that it was actually rather difficult for me to find the county rules online. I finally did find the rules of the St. Joseph County Council. And I want to mention this because to encourage everybody going forward, I know there are contentious issues out there that, but please allow public comment, especially for future considerations of the issue that must not be named. The cornerstones of the institution of the county council, this is from the rules of the St. Joseph County Council, include that in matters of public concern, there shall be maximum public participation to inform, to submit general opinion, to achieve wise and timely action. And I just wanted to remind, just to make, to share that it's important for us, the public, to be able to make our voices heard. And finally, and this is a very particular issue, but in reading the rules, actually the state laws that you reference, at least in the copy of the rules that I found, have been repealed. So that actually made it more difficult for me to understand procedurally what's going on, because I couldn't figure out what state rule was being referenced in the county council rules. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.